Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is time for another episode of Why I Want. In the last few episodes, we've talked about forwards. Forwards that could probably go in the top 10, maybe the top 7, heck, top 5? And this has been met with a lot of dispute in my comment section, people saying, hey, the Canucks aren't necessarily going to be a team that drafts 5th overall, and I agree, I don't think that we're going to be that bad this year. That's why in this episode we're taking our focus away from the top guys and putting it towards guys who could probably be drafted in the mid-teens if they're lucky. To me, I wouldn't really be surprised if the Canucks drafted in this range, so let's set our sights onto here. Which is why the first episode of Why I Want, which features a defenseman, is being held right now. In this video, we're going to be talking about Why I Want Moritz Seider. And that's me saying that name with a very anglicized accent. If you want to hear how it sounds when the German guys say it, this right here is what it sounds like.
Moritz Seider!
It's kind of like a Moritz Seider kind of thing. Let's just stick with Moritz Seider. So, Moritz Seider is a right-handed defender. Right now, taking a look at his elite prospects page, if we want to see where he's going to be drafted, he is ranked 12th by hockeyprospect.com, 17th by Future Considerations, 6th by NHL Central Scouting for European skaters, and 21st by TSN and Bob McKenzie. If you take a look online on Twitter, people's mock drafts have him ranked in the early teens, some have him in the late teens, some have him in the mid-20s, and some have him at 20. It's a huge crapshoot as to where Moritz Seider is going to be drafted. But for the Vancouver Canucks, I think that this would be a very good pickup. If the Vancouver Canucks are drafting in the mid-teens, I would be happy if they picked this guy. If the Vancouver Canucks make a playoff run and get eliminated in the conference finals and they draft in the latter half of the 20s, I'd be very happy with this guy. Moritz Seider is a 6'4", 198-pound right-handed defenseman. And a lot of you guys who are Vancouver Canucks fans are like, okay, that's good. A right-handed defender for the Vancouver Canucks. What's so good about Moritz Seider? Well, he's very strong defensively, and his two-way game is not too shabby either. Playing this season for Adler Mannheim in the DEL, the highest level of German hockey, he's got himself 25 games played, and he's got himself 4 points, a goal, and 3 assists. That is in the highest level of German hockey, playing against men and playing in a solid role. Seider is 17 years old, and he's already got pro experience. He's got himself a small amount of points, but his strengths lie in what he's able to do in the defensive zone. He is a rock, hard on pucks when they're in the boards, when they're in the corners, when guys are cycling them around. Seider's got good positioning. He's a guy who you'd like to have on the back end, making things easier for your goaltender. The only knock I'd have on Moritz Seider is that he doesn't really do anything offensively. He's got a good breakout pass and he's got himself good instincts to move the puck up. But in the offensive zone, he doesn't really do anything. In the videos I've seen, Seider is usually just standing around while the rest of the offense does their thing. At the same time, in the context of the Vancouver Canucks, having Seider on a first pairing with Quinn Hughes, with a first line of Besser, Pedersen, and maybe Jonathan Dahlen, cycling things around, you don't necessarily need the fifth guy to do all too much, but at the same time, having a guy like Seider over there would just be good for the defensive things. If things go wrong and they need to backcheck quickly, Seider is going to be there. He's 6'4", guys, and it's quite incredible because he's actually a pretty good skater. Like, he's no Quinn Hughes. Nobody's Quinn Hughes. But Seider is great in his own right, certainly capable at playing an NHL game. He's exhibited a lot of things throughout his 25 games in the German leagues, and he plays one of the more defensively sound and mature games in this entry draft for defensemen. If you want to take a look at how Seider fares against his own age group, this season at the World Juniors D1A League, he played for Team Germany. And if you don't know what the World Juniors D1A is, basically the World Juniors that we know and love with Canada, USA, Kazakhstan and all that, that's the World Juniors. The tier right underneath that, for all of the teams that didn't make the World Juniors, there are different tiers and countries within those tiers, descending from best to worst. This is the Division 1A tier, so it's just underneath the normal World Juniors. In Team Germany, Moritz Seider got himself 7 points in 5 games, with a really stacked German team as well. For example, the leader of the whole tournament was Dominik Bach, with 8 points in the same 5 games. Moritz Seider is a guy who can play with the best, and he plays with his own team with a great amount of poise. If he's on the Vancouver Canucks, he will be the anchor that allows Quinn Hughes to play his game and exhibit everything that he's able to do. Having Quinn Hughes out there is potentially dangerous in terms of the turnovers, because we talked about the turnovers before. Quinn Hughes is not necessarily the number one defensive defenseman you could find. He does sometimes have those bad turnovers, but having a guy like Seider paired along with him will clamp those down quite a bit, and Seider can allow Quinn Hughes to really do his thing. Overall, it's a symbiotic relationship. They could really feed off of each other, and they can be there for each other to push them to playing their best games. Seider's not going to contribute offensively. He's not going to get himself a 40-point season. I'd say if I had to label it, his prime would probably be 25 points, but a solid, for sure, top 4 defenseman. He's just so mature for his age, and I really would like the Vancouver Canucks to draft him. This has been why I want episode 4 of this season for Moritz Seider, the German 6'4" defender who's big, bulky, he can hit people and he can skate, and he's a very good defensive clamp. Hope you guys enjoyed. This was your blessing. That's Roll Gaming, and bye.